Hi everyone. Today we are kicking off our new chapter on political parties. This video lecture will lay the groundwork for some of the other things we talk about later on this week. So today we're going to really just get into the basics of what parties are, the tasks of them, what they do, and then look a little bit at party identification and supporters by party. So as we go today, if you have any questions, as always, write them down either in that right-hand column, draw a question mark next to it, and be ready to ask those in class tomorrow. So to start, definition. What is a political party? A political party is a team of men seeking to control government by gaining office in elections. So the goal here is to win. You want to have as many people with your party label win elections as you can so that you make up the majorities and therefore can control policymaking. So parties are competing for control of various public offices at every level of government. And political parties are really the main organizing blocks for elections. So they help kind of run candidates, promote candidates in elections, and winning is the number one key function of parties. So the purpose is to win elections and seek control of government. Now, parties also serve as an important linkage institution. So another way for people to connect to government. And parties are really a way for citizens to show their policy preferences to government. So if we elect a lot of Republicans into office, for instance, that's sending a message to those policymaking institutions that we want policies promoted by the Republican Party to be what are instituted into law, etc. And parties can also help citizens make sense of government decisions and processes. A lot of Americans choose who they vote for based on party label. Now, we have three different arenas that we see political parties exist. Party in the electorate, party in the government, and the party as an organization. Party in the electorate will be the largest arena that political parties operate. The electorate is us. The electorate, that is the voters in this country. And party in the electorate then is defined by voters who identify with a specific party. We call these people partisans. Somebody who have taken a party label, identify with a party, and vote for candidates of that party. There are millions of partisans, both Democrat, Republican, Green Party, Libertarian, and otherwise in this country. To become a member of a party, all you really have to do is say that you identify with one party over another. Party in the government, this would be all politicians with that label who have received their party's nomination or their nod. They run under that party label. They are appearing as a Democrat, Republican, etc. on the ballot, and they're elected to government. And party in the government would be subdivided by the branch that they serve under. So it could be the House of Representatives in the U.S. Congress. It could be whoever's in the White House. It could be who's ever in the governor's mansion and composing the state assemblies, city councils, all of that stuff. But anybody with a distinguished label, one party or another, party in the government. And then the party organization refers to those people who are working in official capacity for the national party committees. State party committees could even be local at the county level, city level, etc. So it's the officials and the workers who keep party operations running on a day-to-day basis. Now, altogether, the pie, the pig, the po, the party in the electorate, the party in government, the party, official party office and committee, the organization, work together to nominate and find worthy candidates to run under that party label. They want to find people that are going to have a chance at being elected. They work together to inform and activate supporters of candidates and the party. So get out the vote messages. Vote for a Republican. Vote for the Democrat, whoever it might be, the Green Party candidate, the Libertarian candidate. We want to educate and inform voters, get them excited, and get them to the polls. They also help facilitate governing, so especially party in the government. All Republican senators in Congress are going to work together. All Democratic senators in Congress are going to work together, and they help maintain what we call the party line, maintaining a united party front so that there is cohesion within the party. They also help keep an eye on party members and hold the party accountable. If there are members that are seen as kind of falling out of line, they will make sure that they have a firm talking to and emphasize that they may not get support moving forward. Now, tasks and functions of the parties. What do parties do? How do they serve as that linkage institution, and what do they do in general? So probably the primary way that parties serve as a linkage is through picking and recruiting candidates. So they are going to recruit worthy candidates that they truly believe have a shot at running to run under the party banner. They become the options that we, the voters, have in the polls. Party leadership used to have a bigger role in this, especially selecting candidates for the presidential races, but now we have a primary process that gives us, the voters, more of a say in that. Parties also help run campaigns. They help candidates, they help coordinate campaign strategy, they can help fundraise. Most major candidates run as members of one of the two major parties, Republican Party or Democratic Party. Parties give cues to voters. The party label can help indicate policy preferences. The party label almost becomes a shortcut for voters. I may not know a lot about these candidates. I may not know a lot about the issues, but I've been a Republican my whole life, so I'm going to vote for the Republican. I've been a Democrat my whole life. I'm going to vote for the Democrat. They also help articulate policies and educate the public. Parties write a platform, which is a set of statements that articulates their policy goals and also helps educate the public about the various candidates. And then they coordinate policy making through leadership and legislature. So they can help coordinate policy making, for instance, between the executive and legislative branches of government, and even down to the state and local level. You want to make sure that you have support from politicians of the same party, and that's where the accountability piece comes into play. Now, parties, voters, and policy. Here's kind of the theory behind how parties and voters interact and how that leads to policy creation. Essentially, parties are always competing for votes, and candidates and policies are used by parties to sell voters. So Anthony Downs, the political scientist who promoted this rational choice theory, where he said, look, citizens are rational beings and are always going to make the best choice for them. Voters want their policies represented in government, so they want to make sure that their party candidates are elected. So people are going to vote if the benefits outweigh the cost. So there has to be a clear kind of distinction that if one party is elected over the other, that might have an impact on me. So it's important that I get out and vote. He also says that most voters are actually moderate. They're in the middle of the political spectrum. So parties tend to adopt popular stances on issues, that's where public opinion polling comes into play, to increase their chance of winning votes. So if most voters are moderate, that means the smart party is going to have center of the road policies. However, parties also want voter loyalty. They also want those voters, that voter base, that they know they can count on to always vote for them. So that's why they position themselves then slightly left of center, slightly right of center, so that you still have enough difference to distinguish yourselves to your loyal Republican and Democratic voters. And then the goal is to motivate their voter bases on election day. So here's just looking at a 7-point scale then of where a majority of Americans place themselves on the political spectrum, liberal, conservative, from extremely liberal to extremely conservative. And I want you to note that a majority of Americans place themselves close to the middle of that spectrum. Again, most Americans would say that they are moderate over anything else. So the smart party then is going to have policies that are more to the center because they want to win over and appeal to the independents and those median voters, those centrists, while still making sure that they have policies that will attract their loyal left-right voters. So the Democratic Party then has pushed themselves to be substantially to the left of center to make sure that they appeal to their base, and the Republican Party to the right of center to appeal to its base. So it's finding and kind of striking that delicate balance at a party, as a party, to have a platform that appeals to the middle, but also your loyal voters to one side of the spectrum over the other. Now, if we look at how people identify themselves, what party identification they take within the electorate, it's revealed that when asked the question, generally speaking, how would you identify yourself as a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or something else, party is a more psychological and symbolic label. It's really a personal preference. People think that they know what each party stands for, and they choose that party based on their preferences. But what we see is that when it comes to party identification, how a citizen chooses to identify themselves, most Americans identify as independent, especially younger voters. We've seen a trend that less people are wanting to identify with and stick with a party label. So we've seen a trend where for many years, Democrats enjoyed a large lead in who identified themselves if they wanted to take a party label. In 1960, more people started to be independents, and we can see that trend. So Democrats have lost kind of those loyal party voters. Republicans have trended roughly the same. We've seen that uptick in people who identify as independent. So strongest supporters by party. Just to kind of think about some of the demographic characteristics here. Republican voters, if we look at kind of the broad brushstrokes here, it would be white voters, conservative Christians, voters in rural areas, voters with higher income levels, people with more business professions. And then for Democratic voters, we see minority groups like African Americans and Hispanics, Jewish people, people of lower income, people with graduate level education, union members, secular people. For Democrats, we could also add female and younger voters, where Republican voters tend to be more male and older. And then just looking at those symbols of the elephant and the donkey, if you're not sure of the history behind that, there was a 19th century political cartoonist named Thomas Nast, who was the one to actually first use the elephant and the donkey there. And the donkey came around because Andrew Jackson was called a jackass by opponents, and Andrew Jackson actually just embraced it and started using it in his own campaign posters. And the elephant for the Republican Party originated in an 1874 cartoon by Nast in a newspaper. This is just looking at some of the party coalitions today. So going back to those demographic traits that indicate is somebody more likely to lean Democrat or Republican. And notice the strongest supporters there for the Republican Party would be white evangelicals, incomes above $150,000, and the strongest voter bases for Democrats being African American voters and Jewish voters. So parties then embrace the ideology. So when we talked about political ideology, we talked about the fact that the Democratic Party platform is really based on the liberal ideology, and the Republican Party's platform is really based on the conservative ideology. So the parties take those and write what is called a party platform. So it's a statement made by the party of the goals and policies for the next 4 years, and they are drafted every 4 years at the party's national convention when they officially nominate their candidate for the general election for president. But it's meant to be a formal statement of a party's beliefs, and those become kind of the working agenda items and signals to voters of what they're going to try to accomplish in the next 4 years. That concludes our video lecture. If you had any questions today while you watched, please be prepared to ask at the start of class tomorrow.